We're live, Joe.
What up? What up?
I'm eating lunch on DeFi Lunch.
Hey, life imitating art.
Hopefully, I can keep my mouth shut and not gross everybody out that's watching.
Well,
if anybody is.
Well, at least you started wearing pants. I guess that's the good thing.
That's a positive. Absolutely.
Pull a Jeffrey Toobin or whoever that guy is from the
No,
New
God,
York Times.
Imagine dying famous for that.
Good God. I don't know what the hell, whatever, man. It's like people do what they do, but you would think you'd have a little common sense on that one.
Oh, my God, dude.
It's
almost like you want to get caught.
Yeah. It's like, just the level of paranoia that exists anyhow. It just seems hysterical that someone would forget about that.
Yeah, it's stupid.
But, well, look, man, today is FOMC day. So 2:00 announcement on rate hikes in the U.S. Everybody says 50 bips. One person's been saying 75, and like nobody's saying 25. So I think, I don't know, I'm going to pull up the stock indices, but I think this is going to be a non-event. I think what everybody's really looking at is the guidance on the tapering side. Because I think they're talking about starting to retire 95 billion off the balance sheet a month. And when we started raising rates back in 2018, I think it was, the tapering was a huge impact. And there's just going to be a sell-off if that stuff isn't expected. People don't understand it. I think everybody understands it this time around, but I don't think there's not going to be a sell-off. But maybe not today, because everything looks pretty. Well, no, we're off a little bit. Everybody's waiting.
Good morning, Eamon.
What do we got?
Eamon just said,
hey, buddy. So we'll wait on that. I don't think it's going to be a big event. But what happens when they retire? I should get one of my treasury guys on to explain this, because I always call them to explain it to me.
That's a good idea.
But the tapering, like when you retire off of the Fed balance sheet, if I'm not mistaken, see if I can get the logic right here. It goes back to the banks in some way, shape, or form, but it also somehow gets paid out. The person who's actually really paying for it are the consumers. So where the money comes out is it comes out of the household finance number, if I'm not mistaken, through some kind of accounting entry, or maybe it's passing it on to the consumers or something. But it really affects consumer spending. So that might be where, if we really want to get a handle on inflation, that might be where the big lever is on that. Because I think still at these low rates, that we're trying to get to, I think 3% by the end of the year or something, or next year. I don't think that's enough to stop the demand. And the demand has to get curtailed in order to stop the price. Now, I personally think that, you can't begrudge people for spending money that have it now that didn't have it in the past. So, I'm not trying to sound, callous here, because I think people have a right to buy food and healthcare and things like that.
you think?
Yeah, wherever the money comes from. But at the same time, you have to stop demand. And so I kind of really put a lot of this on the corporations myself. You just see it really in the oil and gas space in particular. Yeah. You see it in the food space. They're just raising rates, and there's they're gouging. Everybody. Yeah, totally. They're trying to make up for the pandemic year and get revenue back, to put it nicely, to give it a nice rationale. But look, they answer to shareholders, like us and like everybody else out there, and they got to get returns. So they're going to do it. I was just,
imagine if shareholders actually gave a shit about people.
Yeah, but they tend to not.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to get their money, and you can't begrudge it. That's the way it is. But kind of like some people have an awful lot and some people have none. So that's not sustainable long haul.
No.
It was funny. I was in, my miso paste example that I can't remember who wrote the comment on that for us, but I was in there in the store yesterday, I guess it was. And I was looking at this, and it's like, $13.89 now for a tub of that stuff. Not a big tub. I mean, like a little, I don't know, quart size container maybe. And I swear that like a year ago, that was like $8.99.
Damn.
And so now it seems like what used to be an $80 trip to the grocery store has now turned into a $120 trip to the grocery store. So, obviously it's there, but I don't know how much is fuel, how much is food, but something's got to give. And so we'll see what happens at 2:00.
I don't know. I don't know if my family's just massively consuming more electricity and water or what, but mine is out of control.
Yeah, I've heard about that too. Yeah, that everything is just all of it's going up. So, I don't know. It's on the one hand, now then you'd look at the other side. We talk about U.S. debt, government debt. The $3 trillion to the Chinese. We've haircut off about about $750 billion of that bill.
Right.
So that's a good thing. Unfortunately, who's paying for it is the consumers in a lot of ways. So, there's a lot of angles to this. And then you look at European inflation, I think it's at 7.5%. So it's not like we're that much higher than Europe. So it's not like we're the only ones.
Right.
So I don't know if inflation is, kind of equal amongst all the competing economies. Again, the consumer feels it, but it sort of nets out in a lot of ways. I'm not sure, but we'll see what happens next. I mean, you got to expect something's going to correct eventually.
Absolutely.
It's just a matter of when. There was something else that was I'll probably come back to me in a second that I just connected a dot on in my head, but
Dave Chappelle, this is a big story. Dave Chappelle got attacked on stage last night.
I saw that, and I saw that Chris Rock came up after with him and goes, "Who let Will Smith in here?"
I think it was Jamie Foxx. Yeah, but
Jamie Foxx said that? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but evidently he and his team dragged the guy to the back and just beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, I heard somebody said like 12 people were kicking him when he was down. Gotta love comedy, right? Those are tough guys. That's a funny story. Also, the one on the Supreme Court draft memo leak story. A lot of speculation in different sources I was reading that it was a lot of people think it was a conservative member's staff.
So they can lock in the wording.
Yeah, because Roberts was trying to pull Kavanaugh and Gorsuch out to another one that would just sort of lock in on the Mississippi 15-week time limit versus whatever it is now, 22 or something like that.
Yeah.
And people were going to defect, so they wanted to leak it so people couldn't defect. So I'm going to make the call right now who I think the leaker was. And I'm going to say it's Clarence Thomas.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Through his wife.
His wife did it.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, his wife got hold of it and leaked it because she's a slimy.
Oh, she is. She's horrid. It's just I'm no fan of Clarence Thomas myself. I do remember his confirmation hearings and all the Anita Hill stuff and all that. I mean, it just looks like, Sunday school compared to the stuff that goes on today. Yeah. So, you got to think that you got five, even like you look at some of these, I'm not going to pick on the Catholics too hard here, but, some of these, like Barrett, when you look at what she did when she was at Notre Dame, she lived in a group house with this kind of, I'm going to call it a cult. It was a very right-wing fundamentalist group of Catholics.
Serious right-wing Catholics.
I mean, this is like, she is, you want to look at someone who's a true believer and whatever, it's her. And she was trained that way. I mean, that group house she was in, people couldn't even date or marry someone else without the approval of like the house RA dude or whatever kind of thing. It was a priest, of course, but not a Catholic, this is not one coming down through the Pope lineage of Catholicism. This is another sect. Yeah. And so now you got at least 5 Catholics on the Supreme Court, if not more, and, all about the pro-life issue. But, watch what they come. You brought this up yesterday. Watch what they come for next. Yeah. I mean, they're coming after privacy. They're coming after gay marriage. They're coming after everything.
They have openly stated that the goal of a good segment of that party is a theocracy.
Yeah.
It's why they don't care about dismantling democracy. So I had Crypto Clay yesterday, who's a fan, called me out a little bit on Twitter because I was engaging in the political discussions, and he, his point of view was that crypto would be nice if crypto could remain politically neutral. And I agree, it would be nice. But, currently the voice of crypto is dominated by some pretty right-wing folks. And I think that a majority of the people in crypto are probably moderate. And so from my perspective, I think there's an opportunity here to have more moderate voices, speaking out for and about and persuading about crypto, so that, number one, the brand of crypto can be improved out in the world, because the whole crypto bro shit is just toxic for our brand. And number two, if this will become one of the largest financial systems in the world in some way, form, or shape or form, we need like reasonable people in charge of it. And there's a lot of power that comes with that. So anyway, I have severe concerns, and I call out, let me make it clear, I call out the radical left weekly on Twitter. I call them out all the time, and including Elizabeth Warren, who's not even as radical as some of them. So, but the Republicans, to me, have the ability. Look, they only need 3 to 5 governors this year and control of Congress to give Trump an election, whether he wins or not in 2024. That, to me, is disconcerting, because I think they're willing to do it. It was obvious by how they acted during the last election. So anyway, to those of you that I offend that are more conservative in your political viewpoints, my apologies. I'm always happy to engage in a reasonable conversation. And we're always happy to have your viewpoint on the show. So anybody out there wants to come in that has a contrary viewpoint to us, we love to have a reasonable, rational discussion about that and find our common ground. So don't hesitate to come on, and also don't hesitate to call me out. Thank you, Crypto Clay. I think it's Crypto Clay for bringing it up. It helps me from spinning out of control on the political front. So that's always a good thing.
Yeah, that's what we need. Less Brad rants, right?
Oh no, we need more Brad rants. So with you. I had not heard. I'm going to share up. So there was some news yesterday. There's this project called NIM. I had never heard of, which is trying to be a full-blown privacy, I believe, chain. Let me read this shit back over here again. But they're kind of positioning themselves as more of like a infrastructure play. They have a token. They have this thing called the NIM Mixnet that I assume essentially gives people the ability to cover transactions, to cover data, personal data, that kind of information. Chuck said Elizabeth Warren is hot. Everybody, Chuck Schotten believes that Elizabeth Warren is hot. Of course, then he followed up with a JK, but I'm going with the first one. Let's put that on screen. Let's put that on screen.
Yeah, baby.
You would have really liked her today. I saw a video of her being really angry about the Roe v. Wade thing. So, she's going to be pissed. Well, here's how bad Democrats are. Like, this is how fucking incompetent.
You trying to appease Crypto Clay now?
No.
Okay. Right.
He would like me not to talk about politics at all.
Oh,
here's how incompetent. This is bad management. This is why Democrats, despite having a platform that a majority of Americans support, like a majority of Americans support the basic tenets of the Democratic Party, they still fail and lose. Number one, the consultants control everything when it comes to campaigns, and most of them haven't even figured out that politics is on the internet now. Number two, strategically, they're incompetent. Number three, they want to intellectually argue every viewpoint instead of realizing that every campaign needs to be targeted to 8-year-olds education level, because that's what Americans respond to, especially with how inundated they are with information. And number four, they have this desire to like be polite. Like it's astounding to me. So when she gets angry and starts ranting about how the Republicans have been trying to do this for 30, 40 years, I'm like, yeah, no fucking duh. It's not like they hid it. We knew this was coming 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. You had plenty of opportunity for that party to get its shit together and learn how to actually strike back like Republicans do, and stay on message like Republicans do, and move the window like Republicans do. So, you know, I am an equal opportunity complainer and ranter. Let me tell you.
Well, I'll take the counter on that one for a second.
Okay.
I think that when you look at, like you said, you look at the segments, there's like 30, I'll just go straight down to what we'll call economic populists. Okay. The 30% that's the real hardcore Republican, libertarian wing. That, you know, if you look at it, you're right. The education levels, and I'm not trying to offend anybody. It's just these are people that have been left behind because they don't have the skills to, for the most part, the majority, to succeed in this society. So when Democrats come out, who, you know, the ones that dominate it tend to be ones who have a lot of higher education. And so those arguments and discussions resonate in their rooms and their discussions and their happy hour chats, but they don't resonate with people in rural America at all. Well, now the problem is that they are getting a lot of stuff from the Democratic platform that they don't even realize they're getting.
No,
that benefits them. And so they don't, you know, they got to be willing to get down into, like you said, the base messaging. And so when you say 8-year-olds or 8th grader, it's not
third graders.
It's not as a way to insult. It's just that a lot of people don't have time to read the 18-page article in Vanity Fair magazine or the Atlantic or the Post or the Times. And they need a headline. They need a nugget because they're getting it on Facebook or they're getting it somewhere else.
That's it.
And they just need to be told why it benefits them.
Absolutely.
And I'm not talking about looking down on people. I'm just saying that they can't process it because they're busy as shit.
It's not that the educational, intellectual capacity of most Americans is at an 8-year-old or 3rd grade level. It's that we are so in and the 3rd grade level, by the way, was true when I was running campaigns, you know, in the 80s. So, you know, it's not 80s and 90s. So it's even worse now because our attention is torn 5,000 directions with constant doses of dopamine flying into our heads. So,
and everybody's mad already.
Yeah. And it's that you have to synthesize the message, right? And the Democrats have destroyed themselves and their branding. You know, as soon as Reagan and company started in the tax and spend shit, that was when the Democrats lost control because they tried to explain how things worked. And people don't give a shit how things work. They just want to know what's in it for them. We are all inherently selfish. We want to know what's in it for us. And that's what Republicans are great at that. And Republicans are great at staying on message. And they're awesome at leveraging fear and hate. I mean, look, the entire thing that got Nixon elected was Republicans figured out that if they went after the racist Southerners who were Democrats, they could win. That's why they dropped language about drug dealers. That's why they dropped language that dog whistled about racism, because they knew they could move all of the racist Democrats in the South onto their team. And that was the beginning of the end for Democrats. And for some reason, Democrats are just too fucking stupid to figure out how to message after all this time.
So. Niblett says it well. Bringing books to a gunfight.
Yeah, I got his up, definitely.
Oh, you did? Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting. I was just looking at stats on, I'm just drawing a parallel. I'm not saying it's better or not, but say the amount of Americans with a college degree. In 1960, it was only 7.7%. Yeah. And now this one's saying, Statista saying 37.5%. And some other group is saying 27.5%, Forbes. So, you could sort of see a lot of the Democrat policy and argument is
it's democratic.
it's thoughtfully reasoned policy that is impossible to implement, without forcing people to do it.
Yeah.
And Americans don't want to be forced to do anything. I mean, just think back about seatbelts, driver's license. There was a huge fight over people getting driver's licenses back in like maybe the 30s, and seatbelts. And, just think about whenever the smoking. I mean, do you remember like when you go into a restaurant? I remember in college working in restaurants and bars, everybody's smoking.
On a plane.
Planes, yeah. I was in a Iberia air flight in Spain back in
Spain.
Early 90s. And the no smoking section was like the last two rows of the plane. The rest of the plane was all smoking. So you're like everybody, and they're smoking cigars and stuff,
I know.
And so you're in the back row. It's like, okay. So
I love how they call it a no smoking section.
Yeah,
Like you can avoid the cloud.
I remember coming back on a flight on, I think it was probably TWA from Germany, maybe early 90s, late 80s. And it was like, we were in business class back then, and upgrades, of course. And the last row of business class was a smoking section. And so the people in the smoking section are just smoking up a storm, but the other 6 rows or whatever are just, getting buried with it too. So nobody wanted to say, they're like, we're going to protect our right to smoke, and drinking and driving. There's another one.
Yeah.
People were pissed that you couldn't drive drunk.
Yeah.
So
well, I remember to-go cups when I was in high school waiting tables, you gave people from the bar and the restaurant to-go cups with their drink in it.
It's funny because I did a little story. I remember when I went to grad school in Athens, Georgia, and there were bars. There's open carry law, not of course guns too, but I mean open carry of alcohol. Like you could buy a drink in one bar and then walk down the streets of Athens into another bar with that drink. So we'd all go to this bar. I think it was called Last Resort, and they had margaritas for happy hour, and it was like a $2 margarita, but it was like, sorry, my hands, I'm looking at my picture. It was like, a quart. And the guy, I remember Drew was the bartender's name. He's like, strong or regular? And I'm like, it's going to be a long night. Let's start regular. Just because strong was like half a bottle of tequila. Yeah. So you had one drink, if you went out and spent more than $10 a night partying in Athens, Georgia, back in the mid 90s, I mean, you were in jail at that point, basically. Yeah. You were face down the gutter. It was just all open season. And now, God, although I do walk around with a beer in my hand in the Grove sometimes, coming back to the Fresh Market. But I mean,
all right, let's get. I took us way out of crypto. I don't even know how I got there when I was loading up this privacy thing. Anyway,
but you're right. Privacy is where we need to go.
There you go.
Yeah.
So anyway, NIM, really fascinating project, and they just announced yesterday a $300 million fund for developer recruitment. Now, there's only so many developers to recruit, and I think like if I do a quick air tally, I can count like $2.5–3 billion in developer funds across chains, maybe more than that, maybe more like $4 or $5 billion if you add them all up, because they all seem to be like 300 to 500 million. But this is actually a pretty fascinating platform, and so anyway, I would encourage folks to take a look at it. Of course, the links will be in there. What did it say? $300 million developer fund. But look at where's the investor list? Shit. Here's Binance Labs, Tioga Capital, Digital Currency Group, Polychain, Eden Block. I thought I saw Andreessen in here, but maybe not. Wobi. Oh, there. A16Z, Fenbush Capital. I mean, these are big ass names investing in a privacy chain. So, but here's the thing I saw was interesting. Like, this is the second round, by the way. They also raised a round, and this is the second round from their existing investors. So they were lauding the fact that their second investors stayed in and came back in. But dude, they've been at this for 4 years, and they haven't launched like mainnet yet. So road to mainnet, client apps and adoption, but they're like, there's a slow ass timeline.
Well, I mean, I don't know what their whole goal is here, but these big projects take time.
It's true.
Like, I saw something about like, God, I thought I forwarded all this into the channel, but I can't find it now. But some stuff on Stellar and what Stellar is doing now, and oh no, it was in my email. That's right. Because because I used to have a bunch of Stellar back in the day. And just all the stuff they're doing in their DeFi space. And you're thinking, God, that's been going on with them for like, 2015, maybe?
Yeah.
I think when they got going. And then Algorand, we talk a lot about. Cosmos, that's been around forever. And then another one we talk a lot about. But a lot of these have been around 4 to 5 years.
Yep.
So, when you think about really building out a big platform, I guess it's just taking that long these days.
Yeah. Evidently there's a bunch of privacy advocates in here. Now, one of the things I saw that was interesting was they talked about how they're going to focus a lot of the funding into academic researchers, which to me is always a bit of a warning sign. I love academic researchers. Don't get me wrong. I think they're necessary and important. They bring us a lot of developments, but I just wonder, like, are they 5 years from actually people using this and this generating revenue? I don't know, but I guess we'll see where it goes. Yeah.
Is there a token?
NIM. The token is NIM, NYM.
Let's see if we got it's not listed anywhere. Oh, I saw a little spike in BTC just had a nice pop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just ran up from 39 to 39,475. Now it's backing off a little bit, but looks like a little buying going into the FOMC announcement. So, but let me see. I can't see NIM I'm on Binance right now. I don't see it here.
It may not. Maybe it's not Maybe it's the token is supposed to be used as utility for privacy protection. So, to power the network. I don't know. Anyway, it's interesting, and those are some big ass investors in there. So that's one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you see that group of VCs into something, I mean, it's almost like it can be anointed at that point.
Yeah.
To the normies, not to the crypto vets, of course.
So Dick Merriman, a 79-year-old computer engineer, had owned Wormhole. Was it wormhole.com or wormholes.com? Wormhole.com for something like 28, 29 years. And he bought it because he loved Carl Sagan. And he bought it way back. And he and his wife used it for their email address, have always used it. And the venture fund behind Wormhole, which is that Solana bridge that got hacked for whatever amount, had been trying to buy it. And so they used a domain broker and went to this guy and said, we'll give you $5,000. And he, kind of tongue in cheek replied back and said, no, I don't want to sell it. Something like, he said something like in jest that the price was $50,000, thinking that would just make them go away. Right. So they came back and said, okay, deal. We want it for $50,000. And he goes, no, I was just kidding. Right. And
15 million.
So, well, I mean, at least $1 million. So what does Jump do? Jump sues the 79-year-old for breach of contract because he put it in that email that it was 50,000 was the price. And he didn't have the resources to fight them in court because you could have easily said, look, we didn't have a contract. I didn't agree to actually sell it.
It was satire.
Easy to fight that, but he was overwhelmed by Jump's attorneys and gave it up for $50,000.
Fuck.
Yeah. Sucks.
2,500 was what he accepted, I think, and then backed out. Okay.
No.
Eamon was saying, no, Eamon was just
Oh. Now he didn't take I think that's what they offered him. No, they offered $2,500. And he said no, that the price is a firm 50,000. I saw the emails on another article. I don't know where it was. So anyway,
you're right. Look, just saying it in an email is not a contract.
Right. He didn't say you can, I'll absolutely do this, and you can back out of a deal if you haven't signed the contract.
Absolutely. That's why deals fall apart all the time at the deal signing table.
Exactly. It's just ludicrous and it's just shitty. And here's what it tells you. Like, it tells you
fuck
that
Jump.
That's a VC I never want to fucking do business with.
Yeah.
right? And it tells you that that well, I shouldn't say that.
Yeah,
There have been a lot of those kinds of attitudes and modes coming out of that blockchain world, and I'll just leave it at that. But
maybe they'll sue us, and we'll show them what it's really all about.
Exactly.
So bring it, Jump. You suck.
It's just shitty. I would never do business with a company like that. Like never. Like, look, I'm all for aggressive negotiation. And if the man said, yeah, okay, 50 grand, that's cool. And then changed his mind, and agreed and said, yes, I will sell it to you. Then maybe I'd be a little more sympathetic, but I can't be. It's just shitty. It's just, and I'm sure, look, it may just be one person there, but they've tainted the reputation of the firm in my eyes. I just,
I mean, that's a pretty wormhole. That's a pretty good name.
Absolutely.
I mean, it just seems like it's, I remember advising the guys to buy realestate.com, and it was a similar situation, the domain. And it was a realtor in Columbia, South Carolina had it, just registered early. And this was a company I was advising out of Atlanta that, made some big moves. I mean, it all cratered after .com, but I remember at the table with my client and the guy selling it, and, he wanted something like 60,000. And this was like maybe 98-ish, 97-ish. Right. And, we converted him to stock with a little bit of cash, but I think he got his price somewhere around there because that's a huge domain name. So, and he was happy with it in the end. I don't know how he was happy with it later for his stock, but the price he was happy with. And, and it was a nasty negotiation a little bit, but it was, nobody suing anybody or anything.
Yeah.
So 50,000 for this is probably worth at least $500,000 in my mind.
I would put it in the $500,000 range.
Yeah. I mean, so they got a good deal, but you're right. You gotta, I don't know. It just seems ludicrous when you're printing money to be arguing over stuff,
Exactly.
Because you're paying it with shit that really isn't worth anything anyhow.
Exactly.
So, the token or something, but you just mint more. So I'd rather have people happy rather than this media out there.
Of course.
Making me look like dicks. So
of course, because I'm going to tweet about them being dicks today. So
yeah. So I mean, even at the closing table, you could be like, all right, look, we're just, so there's no ill feelings. We're just going to throw in another 50 grand. Here's 100.
Something. Yeah. Something. And then, by the way, we'll let you keep your email accounts. We'll host your email accounts for you. Like, don't be dicks. Just don't be a dick. Just like
you get much better. I'll tell you what, if they had did some sweetener at the end for them or threw them a bunch of tokens or something, they'd get so much positive press.
Exactly.
And everybody be like, wow, okay. It's not like we're talking about $50 million here.
Exactly.
That you're like, that's uncool. It's like, I think you play everything for brand, and just try to be, try to get positive. I mean, the positive press on, doing a right deal with this guy,
please,
would far outweigh the 50 grand, 100 grand you save by, screwing them.
Yeah, exactly. Like, let the 79-year-old keep his email addresses, which is what he really wanted. Make him, whole with a good chunk of cash. Do a deal that's honorable, and then you can even promote it. You can say, look, we got this, 79-year-old who deserved the money for holding on to this for so long. It's a good investment by him. We did the right thing. But now
he's probably a vet too, at that age. So, you could play that angle too about
absolutely
not screwing over the vets.
Yep. Yeah, it's just shitty. And look, it's more of the crypto bro look, right? Like, we're supposedly better. We're supposedly creating a better financial system and, doing the same shit the other guys do.
So. Well, the crypto bro shit just reminds me of the mortgage brokers in 2008.
Exactly.
They don't know half the shit they're talking about. And, and they've been lucky as shit. They're all young. So they've just grown up in like free money territory from 08 to now. And now you're going to see how they hold up when all the money gets sucked out of the system.
Yeah.
And, I'm just waiting to watch a lot of these little motherfuckers crash and burn.
Yeah.
And let's see if they recover from that.
Absolutely. There's the last thing I got, Joe. We may cut it short today.
Wow.
Somebody put together a really cool Dune dashboard about Ethereum, and it's actually pretty helpful. So it keeps track of obviously price and current market cap. Why do I keep trying to say crap on market cap? 205 million current active wallets, 1.56 billion in Ethereum transactions, 14.7 million total Ethereum blocks, and there are 50.2 million smart contracts, I guess, deployed. It says created. I'm assuming it means, that some way they were deployed on the network. 50.2 million. Now, I wonder if he counts testnet from that. I don't know. Anyway, nice price chart in here. Current gas chart. Look, is this, oh no, that was way back. And showing transaction climbing, how much is there, number of active users weekly. So that's accumulated. Oh, this is a really interesting stat, Joe.
Which one's that?
If you look at down here at let me see if I can enlarge this. Yeah. Can you see that? Oh no, it's in that's not going to work because it doesn't show up on that sucks.
Oh yeah, just looking at code. That's always fun.
Yeah, I wish there was some way to hide that.
What is that, Fortran?
Let me go back to it. Here, I'll enlarge it. So this is actually a pretty interesting stat. I'd love to track this back against price, but these are weekly new users coming in. So it's really interesting to kind of see these growth levels. This was May 10th of 2021. And then we had the dump. Like the 18th was the dump, right? Like right here. It's interesting. I wonder if anybody's done an analysis where they correlate and look at user growth, wallet growth against price. I don't know.
So is it the wallets? This is just active wallets?
No, this says, so this line is
Ethereum.
Total cumulative wallets ever created, and orange is new weekly counts. So these are new wallets. I assume they call it users, but I don't think they can. I don't think
so. The acceleration
users.
Yeah, acceleration and new people coming into crypto. Still, I mean, look, I'm looking at the April there. That's probably Pumptober right there. That little spike there in between April 21 and April 22 in the middle.
Yeah,
and then you see it tailing off. I mean, that's to be expected. I mean, until, the user-friendly tools come into play so that the average normie can move in easily into DeFi, you're going to see that kind of, if the price is going down, you're going to see a slowdown in new users coming in. That's interesting right there too.
Well, I'd love to match this against gas price, right? Like I'm sure, these were our big spikes in price when the smart contract deployments decreased.
Yeah, I saw an interesting, here we go. I'll show this one in a second, but there's an interesting chart in here on, wait for it to load, on DeFi, TVL growth, which I thought was pretty interesting. I'll pull that one up when you keep talking. It's just taking a little while.
This is, I would love to, I want to open another tab to map off Ethereum.
I'm going to put it in the channel, in the DeFi, our Q channel here. So you might want to pull this one up.
Hold on 1 second. Okay, let's look at the chart. Where were the biggest dips? So that was August 2nd, 2021. November 2020. All right. Well, I shouldn't do this live because I'm going to bore the shit out of everybody in the room. Okay,
I sent one over on liquidity, DeFi growth. This is through April 25th. It's in the channel, in the Telegram channel. It's some good stuff in here that's actually going to end up used by me in another project. This one right here, I like the total value DeFi. And then it kind of goes into a description of, how this is a good primer for people that don't really get it.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll put this in the show notes.
Yeah, because if you go down, you see it explains liquidity mine or liquidity farming or LPs and all that stuff and how that works in a pretty interesting way. And then this one compounds and it goes down. It just gives a big descriptor. But I really like the total value lock at the top is pretty good.
Yeah.
Showing the growth. from specifically then, June of 21 up to now.
Yep.
So it's interesting because you see how it kind of fell off. That one right there, the greenish one. Yeah, that one at the top. You see how it fell off right there. That first big peak pinnacle right there on just before June. Yeah, that one.
Uh-huh.
And then it fell off. So I'm guessing that's when,
that's the May 18th dump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then look, then you kind of do a little crabbing through June, July, and then here we go. There's our run up. So it looks to me, it's kind of interesting because you see, I'd like to see that laid over the new Ethereum wallet chart you were just showing. That time period, because I'm wondering if it looks like a lot of the new entrants were going straight into DeFi at that point. Which is something that needs to be looked at, more deeply. Another story that we kind of missed that I just saw it was, Cuba approving cryptocurrency services. Requires a central bank license. Yeah, I'll pop that one in the thing too. This is just from 5 days ago, but that's an interesting thing. So, they're kind of doing it. I mean, one of the people are saying to avoid or get around U.S. sanctions, but we know that doesn't work.
Right.
But I think they're just going to be trying to do an El Salvador thing or, whomever else is making it as, something, for the whole society. And again, with these authoritarian governments, there's not really a problem in implementing.
Right.
It's more a dictatorial implementation. But I'd like to see what that does, just because we have a lot of, Cubans here in Miami, of course, and be curious to see what that does to, remittances and things from, Cuban families here sending back to their relatives.
Oh, yeah, that could be a nice boost. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that is something, I was down in, was it a call I was talking about this? I was down at the Miami City Hall yesterday for a while.
I'm sorry.
Went to run into my brother. He's on, it's not the it's not the commissioners, but it's the historical review board for the city of Miami. And they meet there at the Pan American Terminal building there.
Oh, okay.
And I hadn't been in there in ages. I mean, a great building and the history.
Oh, yeah, it's a cool building.
But, I'm standing there and, Suarez's guys are in there and I'm like waiting to go into the meeting hall and I'm standing with my daughter and we're like right in front of the mayor's office door. And I was thinking, and he's going to be at that Bloomberg event on Friday, by the way, just so you know.
Okay.
So, with his stance on crypto and now Cuba going pro crypto, it seems to me that is a good thing.
Absolutely.
I mean, Silicon Beach. I mean, you can basically change the society there in ways that, the Cubans here would like to see through crypto. So this is a thing where, again, more user adoption. Yeah, that's the building right there. In fact, I was parked right down there in the bottom right of the circle. There's like visitor spaces right there.
I'm surprised it's lasted this long and nobody's tried to, no commission in the past has tried to sell it. Because that piece of property would be.
I think it was. There's a history to it when it was bought by the city. But what was cool is that building was a terminal for Pan Am Airlines, the seaplane fleet.
The seaplanes coming in,
like 33, 34, 35. And so there was a rooftop restaurant there. And, of course, there's pictures in the building of what it looks like around there. So so see those hangars over in the back?
Yeah.
Well, those are all boat terminal or boat hangars now. And the fresh market is actually that I talk about a lot is on the other side of that big one.
Exactly.
And
right over here.
And that's all big marina. They got all the power boats stacked up on lifts. And then to the left of that hangar, there's a big new building there. And then, of course, on the other side of that street running left to right is, all those super posh high-rise condos.
Yeah.
And, Fresh Market, the last one. And, it's a really cool, and Parks to the left and Dinner Key Marina's there. And then the real fancy yacht clubs are down to the right. But it's just a cool part of town.
Yeah, it really is.
You just think about what's, the Miami crypto stuff is emanating right out of there. I mean, that's where Suarez's office is. So
exactly.
There is big stuff happening around here. If we could just get this friggin' wick down and reset the price base for everybody, I think that we're going to see something skyrocketing.
Yeah, I'm still wondering about that base discussion we had yesterday.
Did anybody come in on that? Nobody said anything in your crypto Twitter feed, right?
We're probably sound completely fucking nuts to say that, because
You're
it's
like,
like,
are we bottom now? I mean, I tend to think no, but
me too. My
maybe we
gut says
are.
no.
Even the institutional guys like to reset. I mean, there was a group, I remember when Casablanca Capital bought Cleveland Cliffs, which is
Yeah.
a big, they make these pellets that are coal mining pellets or something that are used in the steel making industry, predominantly on the Great Lakes region now. But, they bought it, and, it was at 28, and it went all the way down to 1. But, these guys were making so much money on the way down too, so
Right.
when I look at, that was a lesson I kind of learned when I kept waiting for it to bounce and it wouldn't. And then it finally bounced, and, I was trading options on it at that point. So I was happy, but, I think that can be done in crypto. So I think when the timing's right or the excuse is there, you're going to see them move it down. But the move down is just to accumulate more. So, what
Okay.
you got to do is go to Kingfisher and look at the liquidity stacks where all the liquidity is placed. And, there's a ton of it down there in 25, 28 that they're all set to buy.
Yeah.
The question is, are there enough people that are going to sell it to drive it down there? And that's,
Right.
I mean, we know that the old OG whales that are still holding, they're never selling. We talk about that a lot, but the institution guys, I mean, they're traders.
Yeah. You know what? I saw an article this morning. I meant to send it over to our group that, here it is. Institutions shed $133 million in outflows.
Was that all institutions? I wasn't sure if I kind of caught a glimpse of that. I wasn't sure if
Institutional
that
investors shed $133 million worth of Bitcoin investment products last week, marking the largest week of outflows since June of last year, which obviously that was coming off the May dump. Totaled 120 large Bitcoin outflows are marginally offset by a surprise 38 million worth of inflows for FTX token products. That's not a great sign. I mean, we had so much coming in, and now to see an outflow like that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, look, let's see how ETH suffered 25. No, it's at the bottom. ETH scroll up a tiny bit, suffering 25 million worth of outflows in MTD. Yeah, I mean, my feeling is that I doubt if they're selling at a profit right now at this price. I mean, maybe they are. Maybe they bought in the 20s, or maybe they bought last year at 28, and they're like, okay, we're up 50-ish. Well, we're up 30 something %. Let's just bail and book the profit and wait for the dip.
Right.
So I think that sort of helps in some ways, because then they're already out and waiting to buy at that bottom, wherever it is. But at the same time, I don't think probably some of it could be people that are at losses that are just terrified.
Yeah.
That where is it going next? So I don't know. I want to see capitulation. I want to see, blood in the streets, so to speak, on it, because that's the only way it resets and starts moving up fast.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's going to
happen. Does Chuck live in Fairfax County?
They're out either there or Loudoun, one of those two counties, Northern Virginia counties. Yeah.
Yeah, I shouldn't have said that. I just realized that. Sorry.
Yeah. They're Northern Virginia guys.
Fairfax County is about to potentially in the next few days approve investing police pension funds into DeFi yield farming.
He has a lot of connections in that county, so
maybe he did it.
Yeah. Well, we got to play for them, our institutional product, our G2C product.
There you go. Interesting. All right, let's close it out, man. I got shit to do.
Yeah, me too. Nothing else. We talked about Cuba. We talked about the liquidity. Just anybody's interested, Google up Stellar staking. They got a bunch of new stuff coming out. If you're sitting on a bag of Stellar, you're probably already in it, to be honest. But seems like there's some stuff going on there now, and I didn't really see anything else too exciting other than that. But look, BTC is holding around 39,000 right now. The action's going to start soon. I think the FOMC announcement's at 2. So, we see a little. Yeah, it's back down to 30. It backed off another 500 back to 39. So that might have been one of those sucker
Fat
pops.
finger. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But, we'll see what happens. So 2:00's the news. We'll talk about that tomorrow.
Yep. Everybody, thank you for watching. Please rate and review us. Subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, click the little bell after you subscribe so you get alerts when we have new episodes out. Please put some comments in under the video. If you have any questions, thoughts, ideas, whatever, feel free to also please review us on Apple Podcast or any other podcast app if that's where you're listening. We appreciate you. We love you. And hope everyone has a great afternoon. See you, Joe.